going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Okay, the mic's on. Let's get it, guys. I been reporting, nonstop on this Joselyn Nungaray case out here in Houston, Texas. The 12-year-old girl that lost her life at the hands of these two men who've recently been in front of the judge out there in Harris County for the first time. Yesterday we seen Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, age 26, go before the judge, get a $10 million bond. Today, his accomplice, Johan Jose Martinez Rangel, age 22, man, that's a lot of names. He went and also got a $10 million bond. Both of these guys abducted this girl, took her under a bridge, did what they did, and threw her body into a, bayou that's down there, Greens Bayou to be exact. I've been covering this story extensively, so have a lot of other YouTubers and the news out here. This is a big story. It's nationwide, and it's upsetting. Like I said, this guy, Johan Rangel, today went to court, and more details have been explained, and this thing, the more you look into it, the more horrific it is. Take a look at what I'm about to show you. We'll come back, talk about it, and I'm going to show you something else too. Look.
Back in court this morning as the second suspect charged with the capital murder of Joselyn Nungaray went before a judge for the first time. He set bail for 22-year-old Johan Jose Martinez Rangel at $10 million. Devon Raming is live in downtown Houston outside of the courthouse with new details in the case. Devon.
Well, Sherman, the new details read in court this morning were very hard for Jocelyn's family to hear as they outlined the allegations of what happened to her. Now, prosecutors say they were able to get access to Martinez Rangel's cell phone, which showed he was searching for ways to leave the country. They also say he admitted to a witness they interviewed that he had done something bad, that he'd hurt someone, and that that person was dead. Investigators say 22-year-old Martinez Rangel had bites and scratches on his arms at the time of his arrest, and say his co-defendant Pena told investigators that Martinez Rangel was the one who was on top of her and tied Jocelyn up and said to throw her in the water to get rid of any DNA. Martinez Rangel is charged with capital murder, but isn't eligible for the death penalty without a proof evident hearing, which prosecutors explained after today's arraignment.
And one of the things I would have to prove at that hearing is that a jury would likely give death. Because this is not death penalty eligible, I can't have that hearing by law. Now, what the judge was explaining is if we change this case to a capital murder with an underlying of sexual assault or kidnapping, those cases are death penalty eligible, and then at that time we can have a proof evident hearing to hold them at no bond.
Now, investigators say 12-year-old Jocelyn was found tied up and naked from the waist down, and her body was dumped in a creek in North Houston just over a week ago. Prosecutors also tell us that they are working to expedite testing results, and both suspects remain in jail at this time.
Guys, you have it. That's the second suspect, Johan Jose Martinez Rangel, 22 years old, dumbass. Need his face peeled off right now. I'm gonna tell you something. Yesterday I got it wrong. It's so many damn names you can't even keep up with who's who. The 26-year-old supposedly wasn't the ringleader. This guy right here is. 26-year-old obviously can't control this guy. Now, the 26-year-old guy, Ramos, was smaller than him, so I don't know what it is. New information has came out. I'm going to show you the prosecutor on this case, speak to the media, answer a lot of questions that a lot of people were wondering outside the courtroom, which I'll play after my little, talking points here. And I want you guys to pay attention to the last part of that interview where she said some really interesting stuff. But anyway, let's get back to it. Figuring out who's who. Pena, the 26-year-old, the skinny one up here, is telling on the other one. Supposedly, Pena said in his testimony, oh, we was walking, asked for directions. Still don't say who's asked for the directions. Whereas they asked young Jocelyn the directions, supposedly. Started walking with her. They already had it set up, I guess. The way they're saying it is Rangel, the big face one, is the one that, the 22-year-old is the one that set this whole thing up. Now, I know how guys are. These guys are friends. They met on the way on their journey from Argentina. Where they from? Venezuela. Over here, they met. Rangel been here since March. Other guy came 3 weeks later. So he was already here. This is stuff you'll find out at the end in the interview part. So anyway, let's get back to it. They're saying Rangel is the one that did all the stuff to her, tied her up, was on top of her, all this other stuff. Pena, like a bitch, look what he say. Oh, I told him not to do it. He grabbed her by the neck and covered her mouth, took her down there. You weren't with him. I only kissed her when we was down there. See the game? See the game? As little as possible, but you didn't stop it. You fucking lying. Y'all both did what y'all did. I only kissed her and helped throw her body in the water. I'm trying to hear none of that shit. Says Rangel had bite marks and scratch marks on him. Said he told her, he told Pena, hey, throw a body in the water so the DNA will wash off. They won't know it's us. That show you how stupid some men are. A woman's vajayjay closes up. It don't stay open. When they sit in the bathtub, you know what, man? Y'all be surprised how many men don't know about women out there in their anatomy. They only know one thing, where to put the ding on. But either way, man, it's not, I didn't mean to get graphic like that, but this is crazy. This is a kid. You knew she was a kid. You look at her body type until she was a child. You've seen the pictures. There's some devilish people out here. There are. And the only charge they got right now is is capital murder in first degree. That's the only charge they have. They don't have no SA charge and all of that stuff because the kit and stuff didn't come back and they're expediting the DNA evidence. They're trying to get all this done. That's why they don't qualify for the death penalty out here with this capital murder case. That's what they're saying. They said because the evidence doesn't show that if she was, which is looking like, but she was violated. Once the evidence shows she was violated, then it goes before a committee saying if they can get the death penalty or not. Why would it have to go before a committee? This is open and shut. It is. You both admitted they was there. Both admitted they contributed to the death of this girl, this innocent child, and both confessed of trying to throw the body away. You killed a child, the future of all of us. You destroyed it. You wrecked creation. Therefore, your creation need to be wrecked. She ain't breathing no more. Why are you? But either way, that ain't got nothing to do with it. But listen, guys, man, I mean, this thing is upsetting. I want to take you to this news conference. This lady said, it wasn't even a news conference. She's just speaking to reporters. This is the prosecutor on the case. Take a look, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.
Megan, can you walk through what happened today?
So today, Judge Hill heard probable cause on this defendant, Martinez Rangel. It was similar probable cause to what was heard yesterday with Franklin Pena. However, the big difference was that we have gotten into Martinez Rangel's phone and found evidence that he was searching for ways to leave the country once his image was released to the media.
We've heard in your probable cause you talked about maybe Pena making claims about Rangel. Does that affect how the case is handled going forward? Will they always appear in the same courtroom going forward, or will they be separate cases?
They'll always be appearing in front of the same judge in the 232nd. They'll be appearing on different dates moving forward because we did file motions to keep them separate, but they'll stay with the same judge throughout.
It was said that Martinez has 2 children, 2 and 5 years old. Are they present in the United States or in Venezuela?
His defense attorney stated that they're not here in Harris County. I do not know if they're here or in Venezuela. Just in Harris County, that's all I can say.
Can you talk about prosecuting this case? Obviously, got very emotional at the end for Jocelyn's family, but just you all been making sure that they get the justice.
Every case is difficult. In the homicide division, we always, unfortunately, meet people at one of the worst times of their lives. They've just lost a loved one. So it's always very emotional for us as prosecutors because with every family you meet, you see your mother, your aunt, your cousin in every case. And so it's always very difficult. It's especially difficult when you're dealing with the loss of a 12-year-old child who had their whole life ahead of them. So this will be a very emotional case for us as prosecutors as well as the family. But we look forward to continuing to work hard on this case and getting justice for Jocelyn.
What's the expected timeline to get results to determine if a sexual assault happened?
It's our intention to expedite the testing on the buccal swabs that we took from the defendant as well as from the SANE exam. That would be a question for the lab in terms of how soon, but we would like to get those answers as soon as possible so that we can start to get some answers for the family.
If that comes back positive, will you guys bring that to the grand jury, or would it be in public court?
We would present any facts and evidence that we have towards that to a grand jury for them to possibly indict this under a different type of capital murder for possible underlying sexual assault. So that would be presented to a grand jury. If they believe we have enough evidence to prove that and would indict under that, then it would be a part of their public indictment.
Can you talk about just generally the pressure on prosecutors with crime specifically from illegal migrants?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can you talk about the pressure on prosecutors with crime in general, but specifically crime from illegal migrants?
For me, it's just about prosecuting the case. What does the evidence tell me and moving from there? So wherever they're from, I treat every case the same. I'm about getting justice for the victims.
Based off the evidence that you all have read in court, do you presume that Jocelyn was sexually assaulted?
I never like to presume anything. I think that's a dangerous thing as a prosecutor. The most important thing to me is finding the evidence and following the evidence. So if the evidence points towards a sexual assault, then we'll proceed that way, but it's dangerous to presume anything in my line of work.
Or do you think it likely may have happened, a sexual assault may have likely have happened?
I can't say. I want to see the evidence and what we find from there.
So let me get this straight.
Sorry, there's a couple people at once.
All right, let me get this straight.
Okay.
Has the SA kit been run yet?
That would be a question for the lab. I'm meeting with the lead detective this afternoon, and so I'll get more details on the status of that this afternoon.
I find it kind of interesting that Lieutenant Hope, in his initial discussion on the case, said that he had ordered the SA kit run, and I'm not being from here, where I come from, the SA kit is usually one of the first things run and run by the coroner's office. Now, this body has been in the coroner's office now for more than a week. Before that, it was in a bayou. The DNA is degrading. Do you expect this to have any kind of outcome on obtaining said evidence?
I do not, no.
Do you share the judge's concern about a possible ICE deportation?
I don't know enough about the way that ICE works in terms of if someone makes a bond here being deported. I'm more concerned about making sure the bond is sufficient here in Harris County to ensure that he comes back.
Megan, you mentioned that you guys were able to get access to the defendant's cell phone, and there was evidence in there that showed that he was looking for ways to escape the country. Was there anything else that you guys noticed in the phone that was part of the evidence?
At this time, we're still going through the phone. As you can imagine from our own phones, that there's lots on there, and so it's still a process of going through that phone. We want to be careful and take our time as we go through it so that we don't miss anything. But that was one of the things that was found by a homicide detective that we thought was important for the judge to hear when considering bond.
Any gang affiliation from these people to a gang in Venezuela?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Any gang affiliation from them?
All of that is being investigated.
I want to make sure, because this is not a death penalty eligible crime as it is charged right now under the law, you guys cannot have a hearing to hold this man without, to ask him to be held without a bail. Is that correct? You're not allowed to have that hearing.
That's correct. So the way that you mostly see people held without bond in capital murders is what's called a proof evident hearing. And one of the things I have to prove at that hearing is that a jury would likely give death. Because this is not death penalty eligible, I can't have that hearing by law. Now, what the judge was explaining is if we change this case to a capital murder with an underlying of sexual assault or kidnapping, those cases are death penalty eligible, and then at that time we can have a proof evident hearing to hold them at no bond.
I think there's been some confusion about whether you guys don't want to have that hearing because you don't want to present evidence. That's not the case in this case.
That's not the case because I legally cannot do it because he cannot receive the death penalty as he is charged right now. But again, charges are just the start. This case is still young and the investigation is continuing every day. And as we gather more evidence, the charges could change.
The witness that was with the two suspects at Ojos
Sorry,
Locals.
I'm hearing two people.
So the witness that was with the two suspects at Ojos Locals, did he provide any more information as to maybe conversations, drinks that were shared before those moments?
Nothing that I have found at this time that is relevant to the case at hand. But again, we talk to witnesses again and again, and sometimes they might share more as we speak to them, but at this time, nothing that would be of note for a probable cause.
And the kidnapping would be from the 7-Eleven to the bridge?
The kidnapping would be with the tying up under the bridge, yes.
What is your relationship with the two suspects?
It's our understanding that they met each other on their way up here to the United States, and then they became reconnected once they got here.
We've been seeing kind of across the country Venezuelan gang migrants committing crimes. Do they have any gang affiliations back in Venezuela?
That's being investigated at this point. So at this time, I can't make any affirmative statements as to whether they are, but that is being looked into.
Pena had been here for about a month. I think you said yesterday. Was Rangel Martinez here longer?
He got here in March of this year, so a little bit longer.
When you say here, United States?
The United States. He crossed the border in March of this year.
Megan, what is the challenge right now in this case for you as a prosecutor? What is the challenge?
The challenge would just be, I think, gathering all of the evidence. This case has called upon a lot of different agencies. All different agencies without Harris County have come together to try to get justice for Jocelyn. And so gathering all that together and parsing through it and trying to put the pieces together will probably be the most difficult part in putting the case together. But I mean, at the end of the day, we as prosecutors, we do this because we love what we do and we want to get justice for these victims. So the long hours in the end are worth it.
And can you just lay out the charges real quick for all of us?
Yes, so they're charged with capital murder for an individual 10 to 15. And so that's the age range. Because she's a 12-year-old girl, she falls within that range. And that's the only charge they're facing at this time.
And how do you feel that both of them receive a $10 million?
I'm very pleased that the judge set bonds in that amount. I think it's sufficient to ensure the safety of the community and that they will return if they were to make that bond.
Are they having separate trials, and why?
They would. So they would have separate trials eventually. That's just how it's done. You can sometimes bring them together, but that's more of a defense thing than the state. But we want each of them to have their own day in court and present the case against them.
And can you go over the details that you're mentioning for we couldn't even, I wasn't able to hear all of them. What's on top of her?
Pena stated that this defendant, Martinez Rangel, was on top of her. But that's coming from the co-defendant. So once we receive the physical evidence and start looking at that more, we hope to have a clearer picture of exactly what happened under the bridge.
And Pena seems to have been, I don't want to say confessed, but really outlined the allegations against Martinez Rangel. When and if he goes to trial, would there be any deals to lessen his sentence since he is outlining, further outlining the crime?
It's way too early to say if we would do something like that, but that's always a possibility. But as I stand here today, I think they both need to have their trials and be held responsible without any deals like that.
And just to clarify, Martinez, admitted to tying her arms and legs, and he had bite marks and scratches on his arms and legs?
That's correct. At his arrest, he had a bite mark on his arm and scratch marks on his arms, and he did say that he did tie her up and that he suggested that they throw her into the bayou to get rid of any DNA.
And Pena admitted to kissing her?
Correct. Pena stated that he just kissed her and then helped throw her in the bayou, but that Martinez Rangel did everything else.
That's according to statements they made to the police, right?
Correct.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.